Hey class, my name is Sherissa Espinosa, and for my cross-gender leisure project, I chose to play a video game called Madden NFL 16. I'm first going to start off with the history behind football and how the sport became so popular. Football was first referred to as a game of harpiston for young men of the Greek culture, meaning a very rough and brutal game. Harpiston had very few simple rules for the game. There were no specific numbers for how many players could be on each team, and all the offensive team needed to do was get the ball across the goal line by either kicking it, running with it, or throwing it across the line towards another one of their teammates. As for the defensive team, it was their job to stop the person with the ball however they could. Football started to become a popular sport in 7 public schools in England during the 1800s. 6 schools were actually playing the sport of football, with actual rules and boundaries, while the 7th school was a rugby school, which is a different form of football founded in 1567. The 6 schools continued to add on rules to their game of football, which then picked up the name association football, or soccer. American football then arose in the United States around 1869, with a constant change of rules to either make the game more exciting or for safety. 2 universities, Rutgers and Princeton, were the first to meet for an actual game of football, and their teammates consisted of 20 players. And in 1873, a few more universities set up intercollegiate football rules because of how popular the sport was. Walter Camp was a coach at Yale who started the game of football the way it is today. Football went down to 15 team players, and Walter Camp then cut the number down to 11 players. A decade later, certain colleges decided to ban football because of how many injuries and deaths the sport caused. This led to a meeting between schools and decided to set up the National Collegiate Athletic Association, which redesigned football in a safer way. Pudge Heffelfinger was the first person to ever be paid to play in a football game in 1892. As you can see, the first photo on the top right is Pudge Heffelfinger, the first man ever to be paid for football. To the right of him is Walter Camp, the football coach from Yale University who set up football the way it is in our modern world today. Before talking about video games, I want to give you guys a little bit of knowledge on the National Football League, as known as the NFL. The National Football League was created on September 20th, 1920 in a car dealership by a group of men in Canton, Ohio. The NFL consists of 32 teams split into 2 smaller leagues known as the National Football Conference and the American Football Conference. To make it even more organized, each league is split into 4 divisions, being the North, South, East, and West. Examples would be the NFC West, which consists of the 49ers, Rams, Seahawks, and Cardinals, and the AFC North consists of the Bengals, Steelers, Ravens, and the Browns. All teams go through a 16-game season, with the top team from each conference going head-to-head in a championship game known as the Super Bowl. From what I've seen, the NFL today has become a very successful organization that has created numerous ways of financial success by opening up NFL shops around the world, selling game tickets, team apparel, accessories, home essentials, cable packages, and video games. In 2013, the NFL made up to $1.07 billion and is currently the most money-making sport. Currently, the NFL Commissioner Roger Goodell understands that the NFL makes a great amount of money, but is on a mission to make $25 billion within the next decade. Now, I'm going to transition into the world of video games, first starting off with a few examples of the first gaming inventions ever made. In 1940, Edward U. Codon was the inventor of a computer that plays a traditional game called NIM. NIM consists of players that try to avoid picking up the last matchstick. In 1956, Arthur Samuel creates a computer checkers program. This was super unexpected while doing research, but it was very relevant to what I'm doing my project on. In 1965, Dartmouth College wins a football game against Princeton University for the Ivy League Championship. A student from Dartmouth College creates the first computer football game. And to the right, as you can see, it's a picture of that football game. In 1972, Pong is an arcade table tennis game created by Nolan Bushnell and Al Alcorn. And in 1979, a toy-making brand called Mattel, I'm not sure how to say it, created a handheld electronic console called the Intellivision. As many of us are probably very familiar with Nintendo, these are all the gaming devices they have come up with throughout the years in between 1985 and 2011. The first was Nintendo Entertainment System, Game Boy, Super Nintendo Entertainment System, Nintendo 64, Game Boy Pocket, Game Boy Advance, Nintendo GameCube, Game Boy Advance SP, Nintendo DS, Nintendo DS Lite, Wii, Nintendo DSi, Nintendo DSi XL, and Nintendo 3DS. Another brand that I'm not too familiar with but have heard of is Sega. It's another gaming system brand that came out with the Sega Genesis in 1989 and the Sega Saturn in 1995. Now, Sony is a brand we all know very well today. Sony has created many different types of electronics such as digital cameras, TVs, and much more. In between the years of 1995 and 2013, the company Sony created several different gaming consoles as well. These consoles include PlayStation, PlayStation 2, PlayStation Portable, PlayStation 3, PlayStation Vita, and PlayStation 4. Microsoft is another electronic brand that we all may be very familiar with. In between the years of 2001 and 2013, Microsoft created a game console under the name of Xbox. These include Xbox, Xbox Live, Xbox Live Arcade, Xbox 360, Xbox Elite, Live TV added to Xbox Live, Xbox 360S, and Xbox One. This is the PS4 Madden NFL 16 game that I chose to play. As I mentioned, the NFL makes a lot of money, and in regards to this project, NFL has a video game series called Madden NFL, which was originally made by a company called EA Sports. EA Sports has been working with the NFL since 2005 to create Madden NFL. The video game's name derived from John Madden, a man who was known for being a football coach and a television commentator. John Madden Football was actually the original title of the video game in 1989. In 1990, the Sega Genesis console was the first system John Madden Football was able to be played on, and in 1991 it was then available to play on Super Nintendo. John Madden Football's name was finally changed to Madden NFL in 1993. There are currently 28 Madden NFL games available to play on consoles, a BlackBerry phone, iPads, iPhones, Android, Facebook, in arcades, and on a Kindle. Now the question is football a male-dominated sport? Here are a few examples of what others have said about women and football, and how it should be strictly a man's hobby. Let's leave the women folk at home. This is football. Women folk don't play football. Women folk watch football, they enjoy football, we appreciate them watching, but guys, let's leave the women folk home and let's get to business. The sport has been traditionally designated as a masculine, aggressive activity that precludes female participants. In American football, male athletes are portrayed and perceived as tough, hard players who rarely express emotions other than aggression and anger and only smile to celebrate victory, while women play the role of cheerleaders, who are perceived by the viewer to be feminine and glamorous, exhibiting cheerful emotions and glittering smiles, demonstratively cheering on their guys. How about video games being male-dominated? Here are two examples I've come across. Video games have long been known as a male-dominated media, including in the terms of market audience, player base, and character representation in-game. Research concerning a gender representation in video games often focuses on a few key points of how men and women are depicted differently, through frequency and playability, the ability to play a male character versus a female character, physical abilities, role in the game, and physical representation in terms of body, attire, etc. The answer to this much speculated question is as obvious and shallow as it seems. Why don't most women play video games? Because they simply don't want to. There actually is equal interest towards video games between the male and female gender. It may not seem true, but it is said to be that women are actually buying video game software as much as men do nowadays, due to data analysis. Here is a sentence from one of our class readings, both Gains and Gaps. In the past, gender or sex role theory has suggested that differences between masculine and feminine roles were complementary and natural. From my perspective, football historically and in our modern world is mainly played by the male gender. The National Football League has 0 women on every single team. Women, from what I've seen, are rarely portrayed as gamers by males, because women in the past have been viewed as feminists, where they aren't as strong and aggressive as men, and so it is assumed that women don't fit any male-dominated activity. Especially in regards to the video game Madden NFL, football has always been a very dangerous and aggressive sport most males play, and very few female. Yes, it is said that women do like to play video games, and our views today have changed, because women are participating in many different aggressive activities because those who do are good at it. But how often do you see women choosing to play Madden NFL? To end my project, I'm going to tell you about my experience. I chose to play Madden NFL because I'm a very girly person, and to be honest, don't even understand the game of football other than an interception and a touchdown. I have played video games in the past such as race car games or Call of Duty, which I really enjoyed playing, but I thought it would be quite challenging and fun at the same time for me to try out Madden NFL. While I was playing, I had no idea what I was doing. I didn't know what any of the buttons would make the football player do in the game, so I found myself clicking any random button just to see what it would do. And I remember telling myself, this isn't for me, and ended up losing 0-28. Maybe if I actually started playing Madden NFL more, I could slowly understand how it goes, but as of right now, I think I would lose every game. After playing Madden NFL, like I said, I felt as if it wasn't for me to choose to play this type of video game for leisure. Video games aren't something I gravitate towards when I do find myself available to do something fun during my free time. On the other hand, I find plenty of men choosing to play a video game during their free time, especially if they're into football. Madden NFL will be a very addicting game. I wouldn't mind playing this game again if I were ever to be asked, but I highly doubt it would be for a long period of time, because it isn't something I really enjoy doing. I found myself only wanting to try to run towards the touchdown line with the first player the ball is thrown to, rather than passing it to another teammate to make that run.